Hello everybody, my name is Zen, and welcome back to our 101 series of guides for Heroes of the Storm. In this guide, we'll be going over the basics of camera control, including how to set up and utilize screen regions. The first and most important thing to know about camera control is something that is taught to you during the tutorial, which is that you need to turn off the locked camera. You do this by hitting the L key while in game, and by having it turned off, it will allow you to push the camera around by moving your cursor to the edge of your screen. Many people who are unfamiliar with other MOBAs or RTS games will not like this way of controlling your camera, although given a reasonable amount of time you will become incredibly comfortable with it. There are many situations where using a locked camera is the best, but we will discuss when and how to do this later in this guide. When you are controlling your camera with your mouse, there are a few in-game options that will help you adjust the feel of it to better fit your preference. Firstly, you can adjust the mouse scrolling speed. This changes the speed at which the camera will move when you have your mouse at the edge of your screen. I would suggest having this on a very high setting, if not maxed out, but you may need to gradually turn it up as you play games just to get used to the feel of it. Secondly, you can change your general mouse sensitivity. This one revolves more around personal preference and also changes based on what mouse you use, but I would generally suggest picking a higher than usual sensitivity for Heroes of the Storm. With a higher sensitivity, your mouse will need to be moved a smaller distance across your desk in order for your cursor to reach the edge of the screen. This means you will be able to quickly adjust your camera position without it affecting your gameplay. Now, moving your camera this way works really well for general gameplay, but when it comes down to team fights and just general fighting, things can become too chaotic and you can completely lose your character on screen. This is where the temporary locked camera comes into play. If you hold down spacebar, your camera will lock itself to your character, allowing you to always have your camera centered on your character during fights. This means your mouse is no longer occupied moving your screen around, and you can focus your efforts onto using abilities and positioning yourself properly. Releasing the spacebar will once again unlock the camera. However, there are times where teamfights will become too spread out, and it will no longer encompass a single screen space. This means you will often have to utilize a mixture of locked and unlocked cameras in order to see everything that you need to see. The correct use of this comes through a lot of practice and learning to use the two different camera styles comfortably. I tend to use the temporary locked camera method more on melee characters than I do on ranged or when I'm just generally running away from people, but this is a personal preference based on my play style, and it may change for you. Moving on, it's important to mention that you can also move your camera around smoothly by pressing and holding the middle mouse button. This functions as like a smooth observer camera while watching competitive matches, but is unlikely to be used in normal gameplay. Now let's talk about the minimap. You honestly should always be looking at your minimap every few seconds. This is one of the hardest things to train yourself how to do, and it will factor heavily on your win-to-loss ratio. But what should you be looking for when you're glancing at the map? Well, the first thing you should look for is where all of your enemies are. Can you see all 5 on the map? Is there one or more missing? Are any of them dead? No? Are you in a bad spot and can easily die if they showed up? Well, that means they might be coming to kill you, and you should find a safer spot to be. What about your teammates? Where are they all at? Are they all at an objective that you are absent from? Should you be with them? What about mercenary camps? Are there any that you should currently be taking or help take? All of these questions you need to be asking yourself within the second it takes you to look at the map every few seconds. This is what we call, just in a general term, map awareness. To new players, this can be overwhelming, but keep doing it. The more you do it, the quicker it will become a habitual thing just to be constantly looking at your map. Speaking of the map, it's important to know that you can left-click anywhere on the minimap and it will have your camera centered on that spot. If you need to quickly get back to your character, you just hit spacebar. Utilize this when you're not quite sure what's happening on another part of the map, or you just need information about what your team and enemies are doing. By default, you can also right-click anywhere on the map to move there, but this can be turned off in the options menu as well. Finally, let's discuss screen regions. A screen region is a spot on the map that you have saved your camera to, and you can get back to it at any time by pressing the associated button. By default, you press Ctrl and F5 through F8 to set up your first 4 screen regions, but this can easily be rebound in the hotkey section of your options menu. So how do you use this? Well, the best place to put the screen regions are places where objectives will spawn, like at the temples on Sky Temple. The way you would set this up is you would put your camera where you want it on the temple, and then you would do Ctrl F5 to set up your first screen region. You would do this for all 3 temples and probably the boss. Then all you would need to do is hit the associated F keys to cycle through those camera regions that you set up. This will allow you to quickly move your camera about the map without having to click on it, so that way you are completely up to date on everything going on the temples and potentially the boss. Obviously, it would be easier to have it bound to keys closer to Q, W, E, and R rather than F5 through F8. Personally, I have it bound to some macro keys that I have on my Black Widow keyboard, but not everybody has this kind of thing. I'll leave it up to you with what feels more comfortable to you. Either way, this is an advanced camera control technique, and I would only suggest it once you are comfortable controlling your camera normally. Hopefully, all of this information will help you control your camera a bit better, and will help you become much better at the game. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. But with all of that being said, we shall see you guys next time.